Hey, if you've ever thought about joining the Motivate with Coach Camp team, I'm going to let you know something. Now's your opportunity. So right now we are taking sponsors. And if you would like to be a sponsor, hey, look at the bottom of my podcast, click that link, fill out that information form, and we are going to get back to you. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Coach Camp. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Motivate with Coach Camp, produced by Shelby Road Productions. This podcast is intended to inspire, enlighten, motivate, encourage, and lead by example. So sit down, buckle up, and get ready to grow as we dive into this week's episode of Motivate with Coach Camp.
Wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I, of course, am your host, Coach Camp, and I am down here in the very pristine, impressive, amazing studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. Hey, as you guys know, we are into 2024, second weekend. And look, I got news for you. When I started thinking about how are we going to put this thing together? How are we going to do our second season? How do you up it from one season to the next? Well, you got to bring in great guests. You got to have great conversations. You got to do things for people that they want to hear, they want to know about. And ultimately, you got to just really bring the thunder each and every time. You can't lay back. You can't rest on your laurels, as they say. Well, I got news for y'all. I have a very special guest. I have an amazing individual that I have known for many, many years. We actually went to high school together back in the day. I got news for you. This individual here is going to bring some stuff to you guys. I know y'all want to hear about. I know you want to know about him. He is the mayor of Walls, Mississippi, Mr. Keidron Henderson. He's coming in today to talk a little bit about who he is, where he came from, why he got down the road he got down, and the things he wants to see done for Walls. So, Mr. Keidron, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Man, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. I know this much. I've had a few mayors on, and they're busy.
Yeah.
They got stuff to do.
Yeah, no rest for the weary.
No rest for the weary. And here you are in studio, Coach Camp. Who would have thunk it, right? I mean, our teachers back in Horn Lake, they'd have been like, what is going on?
Yeah.
What all we do? I had Gary Parrish in here last week.
GP. Shout out
GP. People are got to be looking around. They're thinking, man, Horn Lake had it going on back in the 90s. Yes, they did.
Of course.
Yes,
Eagles.
did.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles, baby. So, Keidron, here we are. Mayor of Walls. We had so many things to talk about, so many areas I want to cover, but let's just start with some foundational ideas, right? So tell me a little bit about who you are, where you grew up, some of your family members, stuff like that.
Sure. Well, you know what? I grew up in Walls. I'm born and raised in Walls. In fact, you'll often hear me say, and when I post things on social media, I'll hashtag Walls raised me, because Walls did raise me. It's a beautiful town, precious town. And I've dubbed Walls as the precious town of Walls. But I grew up very modestly in Walls. My first job was chopping cotton in Walls.
Where were you at? What subdivision?
There was no subdivision.
Oh, okay.
No, I grew up in the middle of farmland.
Down in the Delta?
Down in the Delta.
Okay.
Yeah. Literally, my closest neighbor was a mile away.
Oh, wow.
Where I grew up. And that's why.
So you down near Old 61.
Old 61.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
And that's why I'm such a cyclist to this day, because if I wanted to go play with the other kids in
a
a
great
neighborhood.
thighs, man.
Yeah, I had to get on my bike and truck it. And I developed a passion for cycling, really out of the need to, have transportation to get to visit my friends, because, it's a long walk when you have to go a mile to visit somebody.
How did I not know that you were down in the Delta? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I grew up in Twin Lakes. Sure, you're familiar with Twin Lakes.
Right up the road. I used to bike to the BMX trails in Twin Lakes.
Oh, well, you know about Carolina trails. You kidding me, man? I've busted so many times out there. Yes, of course. Yeah, riding around with the kids, man. Look, I don't even know. I think about now back in those days, my mom and dad, I'm sure it was the same for you, they would just be back by dark. And you'd be gone.
Yeah.
You know, you just head out on your bike. It didn't matter. They knew that you're going to be all right somewhere.
No cell phone, no pager, you know, but they knew everybody. They knew where you were. You know, if you were caught cutting up, they're going to get that phone call at the house on the landline phone. And, you know, you just have to deal with it when you get there.
That's right. That's right. So you grew up a good little ways then from Carolina Trail. So you definitely were putting some miles in. Did you have any brothers or sisters?
I have one older sister with my mother, and I have a younger brother with my father. Hey, what's up, Tracy? What's up, Akeem? My younger brother lives in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay.
And my sister, she lives in Houston.
Oh, okay. So let's spread out a little bit. What brought them in those directions? Any idea?
Well, her career, she's in the medical field.
Okay.
And, you know, so her career has, you know, bounced her around a little bit. And my brother, his on his mother's side, their family is in Little Rock. So that's pretty much where he grew up.
I got you.
Yeah.
So couple siblings, and you're growing up down in Walls, Mississippi.
Yeah.
You went to Walls Elementary, I'm assuming.
I did. Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah. Wildcats.
They only had Wildcats, exactly. They only had school down in Walls up to 6th grade.
6th grade.
And then you had to transition over to Horn Lake.
That's right. Horn Lake Middle.
That's it. So down by the railroad tracks.
That's right.
And then 7th and 8th grade, then you go over to the high school.
Couldn't wait to get to the high school.
Me either. I know.
I could not wait.
It was fun times. And you were 2 years behind me. So, so we go over there. So you basically came in, but when it would have been my first senior year, I guess. You had 2 senior years. It's all right. It's all right. People know about it. They know me. They're like, oh, 2 senior years. Yeah, double it up. I was like Ferris Bueller's second year. So it's cool.
Well, it was fun times.
Those were good times. So you come over to Horn Lake, and at that point in time, here you are, Horn Lake, Mississippi, from small little house out in the middle of Nowhereville, Walls, small population back then.
Very small.
And you're in high school. What are you thinking about doing?
I'm thinking about playing ball.
Which kind? Basketball, football?
Well, I played basketball and football.
Okay.
Football was my first love, but I was a pretty good basketball player. So I played basketball too. And that was my, you know, motivation because, like I said, I grew up very modestly, and my parents couldn't afford me to have me in, you know, recreational activities from a little league standpoint. Yeah. So I couldn't wait to get to middle school and high school so I could finally play organized ball. Yeah. You know, and I'm getting chills thinking about it right now.
Man, I got news for you. And I want to touch on this just a little bit. So we had Mayor Musselwhite on last year, and our conversation did kind of stem around a little bit about sports in general. Of course, I'm Coach Camp, right? So obviously a lot of things do go back to that. And he was talking about how he had gotten drafted and played some minor league ball and that. And I was telling him that, you know, back in our day, the 90s, 80s, that area, you didn't see a lot of pro athletes come out of the DeSoto County area. That's true. Almost felt like it was a star not reachable. But since then, we've seen multiple stars come out and go big time. And of course, he
Super Bowl ringers was coming from Walls now.
Yes, I know, right?
Walls, DeSoto County. Let me say
DeSoto County, yeah. Nakobe Dean just recently made it into the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
So you definitely have some DeSoto County representation. But I'm pointing that out to say this: I kudos to you for dreaming big like that, because we didn't have a lot of role models in our day. You know, as far as people coming out of the area, it almost felt like it was a dream too big.
Yeah.
But so that was really, you know, for a lot of folks, that is the dream, right? Is if you're an athlete, you're growing up, that's what you want to do.
You want to play at the highest level, for sure.
You want to play at the highest level. So coming out of high school, where'd you go from that point?
I went to Ole Miss, University of Mississippi. Hotty toddy.
Yeah, man.
Met a lot of lifelong friends there. But you know what? I can't forget about my friends at State, because I met a lot of friends at State too. Okay. You know, that's a big rivalry. Just like Horn Lake and South Haven.
Sure.
Was a big rivalry. And you develop, you know, lifelong friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you go down to Ole Miss. What were you studying?
I was studying business management. And marketing.
Okay.
So it's of no consequence. That's the career field that I'm in. Is business management and marketing. That's what I've done pretty much since college.
A lot of ways, that is what a mayor does, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I had Mayor Chip Johnson on, Mayor Musselwhite, and their backgrounds, even though they were different, there were similarities to the approach of leadership. And Musselwhite talks about how he was an insurance salesman. And ultimately, the correlation he made there was he had to be a people person.
That's right.
And so basically in business and management, you're having to be a people person, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't matter what the product is. In the end, they're buying you.
Yeah.
I would think that's pretty accurate across the board if you're in any kind of sales. So when you're studying this, what are you thinking that the dream is going to be when you come out of school?
Well, I'll be honest with you. My dream was to play professional sports.
Still,
Yeah.
were you playing ball down there?
Yeah, well, I never got to play a down of football. I tore both my ACLs.
Oh man,
So I never got to play a down. That dream was cut short. But you talked about offline a minute ago. You talked about mentors. Mm-hmm. And you had asked me a minute ago a little bit about my story. I'll tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Because I was destitute at that particular time in my life. When I tore my knees up and I pretty much saw that dream, vanish.
Yeah.
Of making it to the NFL. And that was around the time too that I learned that I had gotten my girlfriend at the time pregnant.
How old were you?
I was 19 years
That's
old.
No.
That's
a lot of life happening.
Let me back the truck up. I was 20 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 20 years old. Yeah.
Not a big difference still.
Yeah, still not a big
Still a
difference.
young man.
But yeah. And I was destitute and I had some thoughts of taking my life and I was depressed and, didn't really understand what mental illness. I'd never heard that term before. I mean, this is early 90s.
Yeah.
Everyone knows about mental illness now, but back then,
it wasn't much talk. That's taboo, really.
Yeah, exactly. But thank the good Lord that I have not had a suicidal thought in over 30 years.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the track that I wanted to be on. Even though you're in school, you're taking these classes. You're like, okay, well, if I don't make it, you always think you're gonna make it.
Sure.
But if I don't make it, I'll do something in business. I love people. So marketing seemed to be something fun where you would deal with people, and certainly business, you would deal with people. And I ended up meeting my first mentor. I met my first mentor, and again, in the early 90s, this was just when the gaming industry first touched down in our area, the casinos down.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, down in Tunica.
Yeah, down in Tunica. And I got an opportunity to get in on the ground floor. That song started from the bottom. Now you hear?
Yeah, right.
Well, my first job, I was earning a whopping $7.25.
Bringing down the house, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, but I was so intrigued with that particular business.
Which casino?
Yeah. It was Horseshoe.
Okay.
Horseshoe, Jack Binion.
Jack Binion. Yeah, I remember the commercials.
Yeah, Jack Binion, and learning the business, under his organization, you learn the gaming business.
What year were you going down there?
I started at Horseshoe in 1995, at the end of 95.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
End of 95. And I worked there. I worked there for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then I got an opportunity to move on the management side of things. This was back before Monster.com and, all the big recruiting sites. If you were a headhunter, you had to get out in the marketplace.
Yeah, hustle, man.
Yeah. And there was a headhunter, a recruiter. He had been eyeing me, and he slipped me his card while I was at work. And he said, I love the way, you move around. I've been watching how you do things. This property over here is looking for a manager. And I'd like to set you up for an interview. And what am I going to say?
Where was that going to be at?
It was going to be at Fitzgerald's.
Okay. Just up the road, just a little way.
Just right around the corner.
Did you know that I worked at Gold Strike?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I'm sorry to derail. ADD's it's a mammoth job. See, they didn't have much about mental health. They knew nothing about ADD back in the day. We just got beat. We just got beat down. You're just like, that kid's crazy. Turns out just really hyper. I worked there in 2000. Yeah. 2000. I was down there as a EMT/security.
Oh, wow.
So we were just down the road from you. So you go down to Fitzgerald 2 years in.
2 years in, I became one of the youngest people in the state of Mississippi to obtain a key employee license. That's basically a very high clearance, almost like an FBI type of clearance you have to get. But in a nutshell, it puts you in a position to run a casino. To be in control of literally everything that goes on, from cash handling to food and beverage to hotel. I mean, if you're a shift manager in a casino business, you're essentially the general manager when the general manager is at home. And I at a very young age was able to accomplish that and fell in love with the business. And I've been in that business pretty much ever since, even to this day. Even though I'm a mayor, I'm still in the casino business, working at Fitzgerald.
I'm not letting that one. We're coming back to casino, just a little, but because I don't want to go too far off trail on that. But so you go down there and you do this. I'm assuming now at Fitzgerald's you're making a little more than $7.
Yeah, you know what? Those again were modest days, and you know, to be able to at such a young age get into management in that business and earn the amount of money that I was able to earn at such a young age, it's a blessing, and I don't take it lightly.
So when you went down there, I'm assuming you had your bachelor's degree out of the way already.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, I did not. When I realized that I wasn't going to go pro and I got my girlfriend pregnant, I became a statistic.
Oh, things became derailed.
Yes.
I got you.
Yeah.
You know, I think that part of your story is very important.
The casino business saved my life.
Wow. See, and I didn't know any of this, right? Yeah. I've known you for a long time, but I didn't know any of these tidbits about your history. Yeah. And I think that all of this is relevant and important for people to hear, because you know, we're going to get down this road to where you are today and how you're doing the things you are. But man, the part that as Coach Camp, I want to there are moments, Mayor Henderson, please forgive me.
Yeah.
There are moments I just really want to put a star on, but you said it poetically in the fact that you had gotten to a point where things had become so out of sorts for yourself that you couldn't see the future getting better.
That's right.
But instead of choosing to check out, you decided to check in. Because the reality is this, it doesn't matter. And this is the part that I'm sending out to every single one of my listeners right this second. It does not matter where you are right now in your life. Things could be so dismal. Things could be so out of sorts from where you thought they would be or where you hoped they would be. But my God, I'm just saying, don't give up.
Don't give up.
Do not give up, because tomorrow will come. And depending on what you do with today will depend on what happens tomorrow. And tomorrow can always be brighter. My friend, you are telling that story right now. Yeah. And I'm sorry I'm getting excited, but dadgum, that's awesome.
It is awesome. You know, when I tell my story, it's a story of favor, you know, and we have to have faith. Right?
Yes.
And you have to believe the unbelievable. That's what faith is.
Absolutely it is.
But when the good Lord sends favor your way, it's so much easier to have faith. But they go hand in hand. And I'm so thankful that God, you know, he sent favor my way, and he put mentors in my path. And that is why I'm so passionate about mentors to this day, because, you know, we need sometimes that extra push, that extra person to believe in you.
Believe in you. Absolutely.
And to be able to see, you know, a path. Right. And it's important.
Because you end up, it's not that you didn't have it in you before, but sometimes you need somebody to unlock it.
Yeah. I mean, look, my mother loved me to death. You know, I was one of the best dressed kids in school.
You were nice dressed. Did you win that one year?
I did.
I thought you did in the annual.
I won. No, not in high school. I never won best dressed in high school, but I did win it in elementary school.
Okay.
But you know, I was literally the first person at my elementary school to wear a pair of Air Jordans.
Come on, man.
My mother saved up. I don't know how long she saved, probably 2 months, you know, in order to get me a pair of those Air Jordans, the very first pair. I wish I still had them,
man.
But that's what she did, because you gotta understand, I grew up, I didn't have indoor plumbing until I was 16 years old.
Wow.
Right. And when I went to school, that was my escape. I could live like a regular kid.
Yeah.
Because I looked like the regular kids. My mama understood that.
Yeah.
You know, she made sure I had a fresh haircut. She made sure I was clean. She made sure I had nice looking clothes. So when I got to school, I'm just like everybody else.
Right.
You know, but reality, you know, would sit in. Now, full disclosure, I never missed a meal. My mama and my grandmama were both great cooks. You know, we were well fed. We had shelter. We had everything we need. And I was a happy kid growing up. But we just grew up modestly and didn't have much.
Sure.
Yeah.
I get that. I mean, like we had indoor plumbing, but to the same point, we didn't have extra. We did not have extra. A lot of my clothes were hand-me-downs. You know, a great day at our house was I just played outside in the woods all day. You know, we didn't need a lot to be happy. Yeah. And I can't say that I was a fashionista. Probably was not a fashionista. That's all right though, because my style was me. In the end, though, I think what you're touching on too is generational to a point. Depending on where you grew up, what was the norm of the day? And we grew up in Mississippi area, and to be honest with you, there wasn't a lot of, you know, Hollywood types in our area, so we fit in fine. So this mentor, going back to the mentor, who was the mentor at Fitzgerald?
Okay, so at Fitzgerald's, there wasn't a mentor. Well,
So the first one started at.
Well, let me take that
Horseshoe.
back because
Okay.
I've had mentors everywhere I've gone. You know why? Because I'm deliberate to seek out mentors.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? But the first mentor is how I landed at Horseshoe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this guy, he knew of a kid because he had a friend who had a kid who was working at Horseshoe as a valet attendant, and he was making $300 or $400 a day, working as a valet attendant. And it'd take an hour to tell you that whole story, but in a nutshell, I confided in him because when I came home from college, with blown knees, when I got that second report from my MRI, and then got the phone call that my girlfriend was pregnant, I was mute. I came home, locked myself in the room for 3 days, and I didn't eat, I didn't sleep, I didn't do nothing.
It's hard to see what your future's going to be. I get it. Yeah.
And so this first mentor, he came into my room, and he told me, he said, "Look, I ain't going nowhere until you talk. You're gonna talk, you know." And he just seemed like he was crazy and wasn't gonna go anywhere, so I started talking. And I confided in him. He was the very first person that I told about my situation. Hadn't told my mama, hadn't told my sister, hadn't told my grandma, hadn't told nobody.
Wow.
Because I felt like I was a failure and I was letting the family down because this was going to be our ticket out, right?
Sure.
And then he confided in me that he had leukemia. He hadn't told anybody that he had leukemia. So I'm crying, he's crying, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I asked him, "What am I going to do?" And he goes, "Young blood." He called me young blood. Young blood. I don't know what you're going to do, but now, what I will tell you this: you've gone playing basketball with me. You rode up and down the road and stuff, and I've heard you say certain things about your father, wishing that he was there. Like my dad never. And you probably know that I was a very good athlete. My dad never saw me play a game. And he said, you don't want this kid to grow up and have the sentiments about you that you've shared with me about your father. He said, so you're going to have to man up. And he said, I know where you can go and create an opportunity. And he told me about, the valet attendant position that his friend's son was doing. So I went there and I put on the blue double-breasted suit that I graduated high school with. And to this day, when I talk to young people, I talk about appearance. It matters.
Sure it does.
Because while I was in there filling out the application, I met my second mentor. His name was Gary Anderson. Consequently, he's passed on from leukemia. But he's standing over me, and this guy was probably 5'5", 5'6", little short, older guy, probably in his mid to late 60s. He was an Italian guy, and he looked over my shoulder and he said, "Excuse me, young man." He said, "Why is someone sharp as yourself?" He was talking about how I was dressed.
Sure.
Filling out the application to park cars. And it offended me. It really did. I was crushed. But my mother and my grandmother taught me you respect your elders. So I was very respectful, and I just basically laid it out to him. I told him my situation, and I told him why I was there. But my clever way at getting back at him and keeping some of my dignity is I told him, I said, "With all due respect, sir, I'm not filling out an application to park cars. I'm filling out an application to be a valet attendant." And I pointed at the wreck,
Yeah.
And he looked at me, Coach, and he grinned, and he said, "Interesting." And to this day, and if you're listening, I'm going to give this to you freely. Whenever you're in a situation that you don't know what, thing to say or how to respond, and trust me, I've been in some situations where I didn't know what fork to eat with first, or, that kind of thing. But you can just smile and you can say interesting long enough to where you can formulate an intelligent question or intelligent comment. I'm giving you all that free.
There you go.
But now on, when somebody looks at you grin and says interesting, you're going to be like, he's full of it. She's full of it. But after he said that, he said, "I want you, once you're done filling out your application to be a valet attendant, come to my office and talk to me." And the lady that was working in the human relations area, he pointed to her. He said, "Have her to escort you up to my office." And I did just what he said. Got to his office, and he had a big, nice office. It was double the size of this studio. It had brown mahogany wood. I mean, it was just a very, very nice office.
Yeah.
And I can remember it was a bright, sunny day, and it's, the casinos, they sit on the Mississippi River.
Sure.
And there was a huge barge going by, and I'm just sitting there, and he starts talking to me about his career in the casino business. Now, Gary had an 8th grade education. Okay. And he told me that that Jack Binion brought him to Mississippi for this new gold mine, because at that time, Tunica was the third largest gaming jurisdiction in the country, behind Vegas and Atlantic City. And of course, these were the days before direct deposit too. So as he's telling me about, basically he's courted me. He wants me to come and work for him in his department, which was not the valet department. Yeah. He was the vice president of slot operations. Okay. And if you know anything about the gaming business, slots is where you make the money. Table games is the glitz and glam and the fun, but the slots bring in the revenue.
Interesting.
And so as he's telling me that, he pulls out his drawer and he shows me a dividend check that he hadn't cashed yet, because this was the days before direct deposit. $137,000 check. Man. And guy had me hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
But what he told me is this. He said, if you'll come and work for me in my department, we will teach you this business from the ground up. He said, this will be like going to college for free.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 21, barely 21.
So this is just a year past
the
moment where you felt like things were just coming all the way apart.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Barely 21. And had me hook, line, and sinker, like I said. Yeah. And the job that he offered me, he said, you'll start at the bottom. He said, but if you will bring your lunch pail to work, and this is what I tell my team members to this day, bring your lunch pail to work. That's just the right attitude. That's, being trustworthy, everything, sure. Right? He said, there will be an opportunity that will come along for you. And I did that. And the first job was $7.50 an hour, $7.25 an hour. And within 18 months, I was making over $50,000 a year.
Wow. And back then.
That's
bank.
Yeah.
50,000 bank back in the day.
Yeah.
Man.
Without a college degree.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So maybe you have memory of it, maybe you don't, but at that point, did you have any reflection whenever you see things coming together a little bit? Did you ever, because at 21, I'm going to be honest with you, I ain't gonna lie. At 21, I did not have perception. Yeah. In the moment was the moment. And then after the moment was gone, I was looking at the next moment. I didn't do a lot of reflecting. Obviously, that is what the basis of Coach Camp has been built from, is the ability to reflect properly and be able to see things and have perspective on stuff. So at 21, you had just come out of some really tough times. Did you have a moment that you can think of where you look back and you're like, wow, how much has changed and how blessed things have suddenly become for you?
For sure. And that is why I say favor. God has given a lot of favor over my life. And it's my job to pay him back, to offer that same favor, throughout my daily walk, and inspire people and encourage people, help anybody I can help. And that is how I have to repay him. And I'll spend the rest of my life doing it, because he has done that for me. He's placed the right people in my life. Every time I've had a hurdle that I didn't know how to cross, he's put someone in my life to open a door or to teach me something or to show me something every single time, every single time.
May, I'm going to tell you this. So hearing you say that does give me it gives me some warm chills, not the cold chills, the warm, nice chills, because I've had a lot of guests in, and this is absolutely no judgment whatsoever, by the way. This is just interesting. You taught me that a while ago. Interesting. This is just interesting to me. How sometimes I think a person sees something as luck and another person understands that it was favor, or it was in a sense of this was the purpose, this was the moment, and then you picked it up, you didn't miss it. I like to think of things as happening for a purpose. I don't really so much subscribe to luck. Yeah. You talk about how people were put in your life. Yeah. I think a lot of times people have moments happen for them and maybe they miss it. The whole cliche of opportunity, maybe knocking. I do feel like people come into your life for a reason and for a purpose.
That's right.
And not all the time do you recognize that. So I really don't subscribe to luck so much myself. If a person does, that's fine. It's nothing on you. I'm just saying, for me personally, I think things happen for a reason. And when they happen, are you paying attention? And it sounds like you were, my friend.
Yeah. And I didn't realize it at the time. I just knew that I didn't want to be a failure. I didn't want to be a failure. I didn't want to let my mama down.
Yeah.
And of course now, having, a kid on the way, going back to that particular time in my life, I got to support this child, and that was the way that was revealed to me that I could create, an opportunity. And so, that old saying that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I drunk.
You drank. You went on ahead and drank. Yeah, boy, if my son would listen to that right now, I got you in front of the lake, man. Lean over and drink, boy.
Yeah.
So you're in Walls this whole time.
Yes.
You're living in Walls. And so how long are you at Fitzgerald?
So I worked at Fitzgerald's. I worked 2 years at Horseshoe, and then I started at Fitzgerald. I worked there for a little over 2 years. Now here's a twist in the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like twists.
Yeah. So I started doing originating home loans on a part-time basis.
Okay.
Yeah, because you get a little bit of money, you get some bills, you're young. You remember, I'm young. So I'm
young.
making money and I'm spending money, and spending beyond, what I should have been spending. So now I got to think about, okay, how can I create some additional income? And started originating mortgages on a part-time basis.
Who'd you do that with?
Yeah. I did it with a company by the name of Premier Plus Mortgage.
Okay.
Yeah. Premier Plus Mortgage. And before long, I started feeling that I was losing money going to work every day. You make a 5-figure income in 1 month. It's like, what if I put all my marbles into this? And so I did. So I gave a 2 weeks notice at Fitzgerald's.
How long had you been there?
I had been there for a little over 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I gave a 2 weeks notice. Ended up working a little over 2 months. Yeah, because I wanted to make sure I left on my granddaddy taught me you never burn bridges.
Man, that's true.
And so, and you know what? After being out of the business for 9 years, I got back in the business when the, bottom fell out of the mortgage business back in 2007. Mm-hmm. And when I decided that I needed to get back into the workforce, Fitzgerald's just opened the pearly gates
so you
and welcomed me back.
You worked into the mortgage business for a minute.
Yeah.
Bottom falls out.
Yeah.
You had something to go back to.
Yeah. That's exactly how it happened. And, I look back on that and I learned a lot, with that experience, being an entrepreneur. And look, that's a little bit demoralizing too, when you're an entrepreneur and then, you have to liquidate a company that you built.
Sure.
And then get back in the workforce. So that'll teach you some stuff about humility.
Man,
I'm
as
well.
You right now, if you're looking, that's the message right there. You should say to everybody looking to start out in life, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur as such, or you want to start a company or whatever, you got to be patient. You got to persevere. Those 2 P's are very important.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, starting out Coach Camp, I didn't know how this was going to look, and it's a struggle. It's a fight. It's a grind, but it's a passion.
Yeah.
And when it's a passion, the rest of it figures itself out as long as you just keep grinding.
That's right.
Everything takes money, right? So in the end, it comes down to this. For me, I know that this is the purpose. And whenever you find your purpose and it is a passion, you don't look back. You just push.
And you
push,
never work a day
and
in
you
your
push.
life.
And that's it. And that's the bottom line. Look, we're up here. People don't know this, but this was being taped before 2024. And it is late at night. And you've had a long work day. And here you are in the studio doing this thing. And so it tells me that you have a passion for the citizens of Walls, because we're going to talk about that in a few seconds. And clearly I have the passion for it because we're up here doing this together right now.
That's right.
And so we're going to get down the road of Walls, Mayor, and all that in just a second. I just want to add this before we go to a quick break. I grew up in Walls, lived there all my life, all the way up to 21 years of age. And there's so many connections with me and Walls and the fire department, and where I got my first gig as a volunteer firefighter. I want to hit on all those things.
Shout out Chief Hancock.
And look, I'm going to have to, I feel bad because I know I'm going to forget somebody because I'm 50, but I'm going to try to send a shout out to all my people real fast when we come back from this break. But don't lose those thoughts. We'll be right back. Here's a word from my sponsor.
A great opportunity awaits. The Motivate with Coach Camp podcast is now in its 2nd season, and we are excited to say that we have listeners all over the United States and in 19 countries. If you have a company and you're interested in some very affordable advertising while at the same time supporting a great cause, please go to motivatewithcoachcamp.com and fill out that sponsorship page, and we'll get right back to you. You can support the podcast through donations on Venmo at Motivate with Coach Camp. Thank you to all the listeners and guests who have blessed this podcast with their engagement and involvement.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Motivate with Coach Camp. I had a little break there, and now we are about to dive into all things Walls with Mr. Mayor of Walls, Keidron Henderson. So before the break, I was mentioning that I was on the Walls Volunteer Fire Department. When I got out of the military, I came home, and as I was getting out, my friends were like, dude, why are you leaving the military? You've got a job. You could stay. I was like, yeah, but I'm going to go home and be a firefighter. And they're like, you don't know anything about firefighting? I was like, you're right, but I'm going to figure it out. And so when I get into town, my mom and dad still lived in Walls. That's where I grew up. And I knew they had a volunteer fire department. So I was like, let's go down and I'm just going to go sign up. And if it's right, if it's the right fit, then I know that this is going to be the path I want to take. And so we went down, I signed up, I did the training. And I got to be honest with you, for those of you that have never thought about this line of work, it will probably not resonate with you. But it's something about the first time those tones go off, you smell that smoke, you're running into this dangerous environment. Either A, you're scared to death, or B, it is like the switch is flipped on and you're like, oh my God, I got to do this for the rest of my life. And it was a passion immediately. And I just knew it wasn't so much that it was the damage, obviously, do not misconstrue this. Right. It was the fact that I was doing something bigger than me. I knew it was dangerous. The adrenaline was there. But then the idea that you're helping people in a moment of need that is in their worst nightmare. And now you're able to be part of that fix, hopefully. And then EMS kind of came second. And it was like everything just kind of blended for me. So that said, I want to say this to real quick to your Walls folks, if you don't mind.
Oh, man, come on.
I want to send a thanks. And look, if I forget somebody, please forgive me. Send me a message and say you're an idiot. That's fine. Chief Hancock, Chief Potts, Chief James, those guys, they were big mentors, influential in my career. Yeah. And some of the best medics that I have ever known, even to this day, from Debbie Lynn to Miles Morgan, Brad Phillips, Pumbaa. I mean, these are just great guys, and they were such great mentors in my early days, and I just would not be the person that I became later in life. And I like to think that I served them well, and I represented well for Walls as I went on to South Haven and then eventually Memphis. So that's my shout out to the Walls Volunteer Fire Department.
I can tell you a quick story about Chief Hancock.
Yeah.
After I took office, the very first Christmas, I took office in June of 2020, and the very first Christmas, literally, was this the 23rd or the 24th? I want to say it was Christmas Eve, but it may have been the 23rd. It was either the 23rd or 24th, but there was an apartment complex that caught fire. And there was 4 units. No, I'm sorry. It was 8 units, and all 8 units were totally destroyed a day or two before Christmas. And when I got the call, it was live, and when I made it to the scene, just trying to make my assessment, trying to stay out of the way. Chief Hancock, he was at the command, and he waved me over, and he knew what I was doing. He knew I was trying to stay out of the way, but he wanted me to understand the intricacies of what he was doing. Right, the fluidness of the situation while he's on the radio. The guys are, in a building. Guys are on the side of a building. You're fighting this thing from all different angles, and just to be in the midst of that, it's an experience that I'll never forget. But he invited me over while that was going on, and then after that, Chief offered up the fire department to be a collection point so that we could make sure that the families were taken care of. And Walls and our sisters and brothers, South Haven, Horn Lake, everybody showed up in a major way, and they brought clothing, they brought essentials. No kid in that apartment complex went without a Christmas gift.
Nice.
Everybody got cash to get them started on their next residency hunt. It was just an amazing, and that's what community is all about.
Absolutely.
And I got a crash course in that, my first few months on the job. This happened Christmas, and I had gotten on the job in June. Yeah, it was June of 2020.
So barely 6 months.
Barely 6 months.
Man, and that doesn't surprise me, though.
Yeah, great. Like I said, it's just a great bunch over there. Shout out again, Chief Hancock.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I got news for you. None of that surprises me, not a bit. Which, like I said, that was the foundation for me, and everything needs a strong foundation if you're going to be built strong. And that was absolutely the perfect move for me back in that day. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the mayor thing real quick. Did you have any people in your entire family or any close friends that were politicians?
No.
What in the world happened? You wake up one day. How does that happen for Keidron?
Well, I love Walls.
Okay.
And, when you think about the explosive growth in DeSoto County over the last 30 years, particularly after the boom in the early 90s, and you look at what South Haven has become, and with Hernando, where we are right now, what it's become, Olive Branch, what it's become, and Horn Lake, Walls lags behind. And it's not that it's purposeful. It's just sometimes it can be your time, but not your turn. We feel like in Walls, the time is here and it's our turn. And at one point, DeSoto County was the third fastest growing county in the whole country. And still to this day, it's the fastest growing county in the state of Mississippi. So, my passion and the reason why I decided that I wanted to be mayor of Walls is because I wanted to spark, the growth, and I wanted to tap into the imaginations of the people that live in Walls, because I feel like we have a blank canvas, and that's why I call Walls the precious town of Walls, because it's just a beautiful, precious place. And one of my very first things that I said I was going to run on was augmenting, public service. Inclusive of the guys that you just talked about, right? I'm very proud to say, and I don't want this to sound like a campaign, speech or nothing like that, but we have a new training facility that we're about to build.
I was going to ask you about it, so you're ahead of my notes, but do that. I like it.
It's going to be a state-of-the-art facility that we're going to build in Walls, where we will be able to train our fire guys right there. Because currently what Chief has to do is when he wants to train someone, take them through advanced training, close the department down. A, can't do that, right?
Sure.
Or B, have someone else come in and help mutually so that he can take our guys to another location. So not only will we be able to do that training there in Walls, but we'll be able to train other firefighters, and and hopefully that even becomes a recruiting tool, for our fire department. But that's huge. That's huge for our town. We have increased our police presence, in the town, because look, if we aspire to grow, we want to maintain our safety.
Yeah, Musselwhite talks about that. Inevitably, it's inevitable.
Yeah,
right. You grow, and it's going to attract bad actors.
Yeah,
and so you got to be prepared for that.
Yeah,
right. So,
so we've built up our police department. And people, as they're coming through, they're like, wow, I see more cars. I see this, I see that, and it feels so good, to look back and see, what the administration has been able to accomplish in just a short period of time. But that was the inspiration and motivation.
So why you? I mean, I get it. I get all that. And I get that you grew up there, and which Darren Musselwhite had talked about. He grew up in South Haven. So you have that hometown connection. You know where it's been. You know where it's at. You know where you'd like to see it go. But why you? Because this is not a baited question, because I think it's legitimate to the core of the person. So you've already given us the foundation as to where you came from, some of the trials and tribulations, how you overcame that, how you had some great mentors, where your heart is, where your passion is, and how you want to influence the next generation. So you look in the mirror. Keidron, you have nobody that you could look to as a politician. And I got to be honest with you. If you're going to be a preacher or you're going to be a politician, you're going to have some thick skin. You're going to have some vision. You're going to have some heart.
For sure. Sure. The answer to that question is very simple. It's my grandmother.
Okay.
When you talk about the change you'd like to see, you can talk about it, or you can try and do something about it. And my grandmother inspired me to try and do something about it.
Amen.
We want to have a grocery store in Walls. Well, why don't you have one, son? Go out there and put the dots together. Because let's face it, I'm a mayor, but I don't have the power to just say, hey, we're going to open up a grocery store in our town tomorrow.
Right.
I have to get out there, market the town, sell the town, attract people to our town so that this grocery store will know that, we have people that can patronize this store, so that is why our residential growth is where it is. We're wanting to build the rooftops. Well, we've broken ground on 4 new subdivisions under my administration.
Wow.
That's what it takes. You gotta have people there, so that the businesses, will want to come.
Keidron, do you mind if I connect the dot? I'm going to connect the dot.
Come on, man.
So you said this at the beginning of this, and I'll be honest with y'all, man. When I started in these things, I just let it happen. This is going to grow natural. That's how I do this. You said that you had that ability within you, but you didn't see it. and it took somebody, a mentor, coming in and telling you what the path could be for you. It had to unlock that potential. They had to believe in you before you could believe in yourself almost.
Yeah.
My man, do you hear what you're doing?
Talk
You're
to
believing in a city that ain't there yet, but you know it's coming.
That's right.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Look, you live in DeSoto County.
Yes,
You've seen the growth.
I have.
And you've seen that, we can't expand any more east.
That's true.
The growth is coming west. I mean, just look at what's happening, in Horn Lake right now. We're seeing it happen. And if this county is going to continue to grow, and we all love our county, it has to come west.
Yeah.
And over 70% of the, land that's already zoned properly for, industrial and that type of thing, it sits in walls.
It is growing.
It's down in the Delta.
I did a little bit of census work, and I'm not the best. I do homework now. I know that's weird. So if you're a teacher of mine from back in the day at Horn Lake, you're like, what? That's weird. But so when you took office, it was somewhere around 11 to 1,200 population. And to date, it's somewhere around 1,500, a little more. So it is a growth state, right?
That's right.
So where do you see Walls going in, say, 5 years?
Oh, wow. Well, listen, 5 years is not a very long time.
It's not. It goes by quick.
It goes by real quick. And so we see Walls as a town that can offer you the essentials. We want to have a grocery store in Walls.
Okay.
We want to have a community hub in Walls. We want to have a new town hall in Walls where we can foster, that community type atmosphere. And get our constituents more involved in what's going on around Walls. We don't really have aspirations to have a big super boom and become South Haven. No knock on you, Mayor Musselwhite in South Haven. I love South Haven. South Haven is a great city, but Walls has its own identity, and we have things to offer that other parts of the county simply don't have. We have the Mississippi River, and that's a beautiful river.
It is.
Right?
You get some great sunsets down there, by the way, off that bluff.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
man.
you do. And we're centralized. I mean, we're 20 minutes from downtown. We're 20 minutes from the casinos, 20 minutes from the airport. We're 20 minutes from everything.
It was kind of born out of necessity of the casinos, the Walls boom, too, because people had to have, if you were working down there at the time of the inception, most folks were coming, 45 minutes away. And so whenever they started building apartment complexes and such down there, it really did connect people a lot closer, 15, 20 minutes away suddenly.
Yep.
And, drive time is everything, right? So look, I got news for you. I work in Memphis. I teach at Southwest, and the traffic. Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. We're going to have a moment, y'all. We're just going to take a break for a second. I'm just kidding. But the traffic's rough, right? The traffic's rough. So Walls is on the move. Walls is growing for sure. All right. Let me ask you this real quick, because I know how I would be. So your first day in office, you had this vision, you had this dream of wanting to become the change agent, which is what you have to have. You have to believe it's possible. Right. And then you got to have a vision, you got to have motivation, you got to have heart, all those things. Tell me about that first day.
Oh, wow. That first day was, it was a lot of nerves, obviously, because, I know business, but I don't know government.
Well, you get me either. That's right. So I get it.
So I'm getting, in all this time you've been in the business world. And so now it's, you can read a P&L and you can do all these things, but government moves a lot differently than corporate.
Yes, it does.
So I was nervous, honestly, and even the night that I got sworn in, because look, you get sworn in and then you're right there and you're conducting your first board meeting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Roll your sleeves up.
Yeah. You get the seat. It's like, let's go.
Game time.
And my kids, they were there and two of them were late and now I'm holding up the meeting. You know what I mean? Cause it was just, but Judge Karen Sanders, I'll forever be grateful for her because she managed to keep me calm and she's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. This is your day. They can wait kind of thing. I'm like, no, it's not my day. These are our constituents here. We have a board meeting to do. My kids need to help me but they didn't make them wait too long. They were trying their best.
Man, I feel bad. I made you wait like 2 minutes before I got to the studio.
Hey,
tonight.
You know what? It's all good.
It's all full good. Circle is what it sounds like. So it's all right. So now you see,
patience is a virtue.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you've seen it.
Yeah. But I honestly was a little nervous, but look, I had a plan and I just laid my plan out.
Yeah.
I laid my vision out. I was prepared. And it's like, let's roll.
Yeah.
It's like, let's roll.
It's kind of like if you're playing a sport, say football, and it's a big game. It's a big game.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many times you may have done, played a game.
Yeah.
It's a big game. You got to get out there and get hit the first time.
You got to get hit.
And then them nerves start to kind of settle down a little bit.
That's right.
That day one gets behind you. You start to get a little bit of a vision ahead of you.
Yep.
And get your legs under you. Because like what you said, actually, I think is important too. You didn't have mayoring figured out.
No.
I don't know how many people wake up knowing how to be a mayor, right?
Yeah.
So what all goes into it, but you had the right approach, and the right approach was you wanted to be there to be a positive change for the citizens. It wasn't about how can Keidron Henderson make himself a bigger name. It was about how can I help make a better change for tomorrow, and you tied that together beautifully to your grandma. So all of those questions were answered just then, because I was like wondering, how does a person go from I've never done anything like this to I'm doing it. I'm all in. Yeah. I'm cannonballing, as I like to say a lot of times. You're cannonballing the moment, so to speak.
It's the love of the town, man. The love of the town.
So I want to bring this up. I think it is important. I do think it is important. I don't think that it is, I don't think it's unique in the sense of today's society as much, but it is unique in the moment for you, for sure. You were the first African-American mayor, not just in Walls, but DeSoto County. Now, here's the thing. You did not get elected mayor because of it being African-American. You got elected mayor because you were the right person.
Amen.
That said,
I received that.
Yes. That said, it is inspirational to those that thought this could never happen for me. Mm-hmm. So how does that play to the youth out there that may have grown up thinking this is not a possibility for me? So how do you use that platform now to be like, look, anything can be possible? Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is that I didn't even realize it until after I became mayor, when the news station started calling to basically let me know that I was the first African-American. I had no idea.
Sure.
I literally had no idea. But to answer that question, I'll tell you, 5th grade, Renee Henry, Mrs. Henry. Mm-hmm. Do you remember her?
I know. I didn't have her.
Okay. Well, Walls Elementary.
But I remember the name, yeah.
One day I was cutting up in her class, and she put me out in the hall. And I don't know, she was having a bad day that day. She must have been, because she was crying. And she was frustrated with me. And she said, Keidron, you have so much potential. She said, do you realize that one day you could literally be the first Black president of this country? And as a 5th grader, I'm thinking, this lady's lost her marbles. There's never going to be a Black president in this country. I mean, that was
1980s. Yeah.
That was the thought I had. Sure. It's the honest to God truth. And then obviously, we've had a Black president now, right? But her words of encouragement has stuck out with me all these years, that when I talk to young people, I stretch, their imagination, and I stretch their abilities, because I had someone, again, I'm going to use that favorite word again.
Sure.
When you speak life into people, and you speak positive affirmations over people, you never know where it's going to go.
That's so
I mean, I'm still talking about Miss Henry, all this time later.
Yeah. And, I think that's...
I've been out of high school 30 years, and I'm talking about my 5th grade teacher.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? That's so important to point out, is that was one click in time, one little moment. I would bet you if you found Miss Henry, there might be a slim chance that she would remember the conversation.
I would love the opportunity. I've actually searched for her throughout my social media days of kind of, searching and that kind of thing. I hadn't been able to find her. I'm sure she's probably somewhere. I hope she's somewhere right now. I hope she's still with us. But yeah, Miss Henry, if this finds you, please reach out to me. I would love to love on you and thank you for, everything you taught me too, because she was a good teacher. But yeah, she took this little Black kid out in the hall and spoke life, and she was a white woman. Miss Henry was a white woman, instilling words of encouragement and aspiration to a little knucklehead Black boy that was cutting up in her class that day. But she saw something in me.
Sure.
She did. She saw something in me. Otherwise, why would she say that?
No, absolutely. You know what? And you said this before we started recording, and you don't really realize sometimes an action or a word, how far it carries and what it means to a person. But you shared with me something that I really had forgotten. And it was just because there's so many moments that happen in a person's life, but you reminded me that when I was a limo driver, I know there's another peel to the onion.
Yeah.
To all my listeners out there, they're like, what? What? Limo driver? Yes, y'all. I drove limos for a minute. All right, so I was out there making that happen for a second, and you reminded me that I picked you up and your wife, and took you guys out and kept you out for a while or whatever, and didn't charge you the extra. And I'll be honest with you, you were my friend from school, and I didn't remember because it was a nothing burger to me, right? So it was just like I was just doing that. It's not it wasn't like a favor in my book, I'm sure. I was just hanging out, no big deal. But it stayed with you, and you reminded me of that before the show started.
Yeah, it did. All these years, I'm forever grateful. I'll never forget it. And I wanted to make sure I reminded you of it because it was a big deal for me. I didn't know what to do for her. It was Valentine's Day, and she's 8 months pregnant. Irritable, not wanting to be out, not wanting to do nothing, baby's kicking, kind of thing. And I had a bright idea to just take a nice limo drive and eat some Chinese food. Yeah. And you picked us up, and you did just that, and you drove us extra, and you made sure that we made a good date of it.
And the only reason why I bring that up is the point is how insignificant a thing might be to you that you're doing a kind thing for someone else, but it means a lot, whether it's a word or an action. And just like you mentioned with Miss Henry, the conversation you had in the hall, et cetera. And so that's really kind of ties back into the point that I wanted to make, is just the fact that, I think in today's society, it should be commonplace. It should be norm. It doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter what your gender is. It doesn't matter what your religious background is.
Right.
It's your approach to life. Are you trying to make a difference in this world? Mm-hmm. But I don't think it should be lost on people when we do have significant steps and strides in the right direction, and we're doing something that's never been done before. I think it's fine to hang a star on that. And so I think I would have been remiss if I did not take a moment to recognize the fact that, you stepped into an area that had not been stepped into, and that's a trailblazer. I would believe, I don't know, I didn't get to meet him. God, I would have loved to have met him. Jackie Robinson. I don't know how much he saw his significance to baseball, but more so to society, which was the bigger step. And one of the things that was in the movie that I'm just bringing this up because it was like one of the mind-blowing moments was Jackie points out, he's like, I'm not afraid to fight. And the manager's like, no, that's it. I don't need someone strong enough to fight back. I need someone strong enough not to fight back. It's like, oh my God, it's so profound.
It is.
That's like next level.
Yeah.
And so that's just the point I'm making is that I think we all have a gift and we all have a purpose. And when you have a moment and you have a platform and you have an opportunity to do the right thing and you choose to do the right thing, you did not do it for you. You did it for the generations to come. You're leaving behind a legacy. And my friend, I know that's what you're doing.
Amen.
You're putting walls for a reason right now, for a lot of reasons that you may not even realize, but they'll come to fruition later.
Amen.
So let's move down the road just a touch. Talking about walls real quick. What are if you can, and maybe this is, I don't like putting numbers on it. I was going to say, what are your top 3 priorities moving forward for 2024, but let's not do that. What's a few priorities you have moving forward into 2024?
Well, continuing to augment our public, excuse me, continuing to augment our public service. That as a growing town, you got to make sure that, you keep the growth at the right way, because we want to grow, but we want to grow the right way.
Sure.
So that has to be the number one priority. The other thing that, we certainly want to do is continue to focus on youth recreation. There was a program that ran for 20 years in Walls. It was a summer program that I was a product of.
What was it called?
The Sacred Heart Summer Program.
Oh, Sacred Heart. Yeah.
Sacred Heart Southern Missions. Rest in peace, Sister Virginia, who was the catalyst for that program, who got the funding for that program that ran for 20 years, 500 kids for 6 weeks every summer for 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Mercy. Was that Mother Teresa running that?
No, that was Sister Virginia. Yeah.
Must have been a descendant. Must have been a descendant. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah. Well, so many firsts for me going through that program. As I mentioned early on in this conversation, how modestly I grew up. The first time I jumped into a swimming pool was through that particular program.
Okay.
I learned to swim. The first time I put on a pair of roller skates was through that program. The first time I stepped foot inside a movie theater was through that program. I learned to play bingo through that program. I mean, it was just a marvelous tool for us to get exposed to things and to keep us engaged in the summer months. And youth recreation is still near and dear to me, to this day. And last summer, Foundation Gaming, the company that I work for, who owns and operates Fitzgerald's Tunica, they helped us with our summer program, in a major way. They gave us $10,000 to funnel to the Sacred Heart Southern Missions for their summer program, to get that thing kicked back up. We'd love to see it where it was back when I was growing up. Yeah. But you know what? It's a small step in the right direction,
there you go.
And to be able to continue to build on that. I am putting together a teen summit in Walls this summer, where we're going to take 50 school-age kids, grades 6 through grades 12, and 25 boys, 25 girls, and we're going to take them through an impactful boot camp, if you will, of career path planning and life skills.
I love it.
Yeah, it's important.
Empower them to believe in themselves, like you've been saying this whole podcast.
Yeah.
Unlock the potential.
That's right.
And give them an opportunity. That's what everybody is just, if you give a person an opportunity, there's no telling what might happen.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And the idea is to start to get them on the path of formulating what they want to do, after high school and or after college.
Yeah.
And get them on the career path plan that they need to be on, and get them mentors. If I could call Miss Henry today, I would call her.
Yeah.
And these are the connections that we want to make with the young people, to put a mentor in their life that they,
lifelong connection.
A lifelong connection. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. I got to get you connected with Hope Center. I'm telling you, you're going to love these people.
Let's do it. You're
going to love these people. Golly, Stacey Dodd he is a rock star in the mentorship aspect of things, especially with children. There's so many different avenues that I could go into just talking about mentorship with kids and how important it is. Athletics, of course, is major. And anytime a kid plays any sport, you're building structure, you're building teamwork. You played sports. We've talked about that. I would say this. I think that for most, not all, but for most, if you tied a person's approach to life from their youth, I think a lot of people that did play sports are going to go back to how they were coached, how they were
I'd have
trained.
to agree. Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, look, when you're playing a sport, you're going to have to overcome some adversity.
Absolutely.
Somebody's going to fumble a snap. Somebody's going to drop a pass. Things are going to happen. And you can take that. I'm talking about football, but you can take that to any sport.
Absolutely.
Any sport. And you're going to have setbacks in life, in your real life. They inherently, sports teaches young people life skills. And
I say that because the type of youth center you're speaking of, a person doesn't have to play for a formal team. We discussed how you were waiting the moment to get to junior high, to be on an actual team, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that's what these kind of youth centers can do. They can build team dynamic. Absolutely. They can give these kids structure, and they can put them in aspects of life where they fail. Yeah. And Sheriff Tuggle, you familiar with this guy?
Oh, yeah. Great guy.
Holy cow.
Great guy.
Look, I have a feeling we put you, myself, and Tuggle together. It's going to create this cosmic thing called a supernova. Oh. So much energy and positivity flowing through. Had him as a guest. And he talks about one of his greatest influential people in his life was a coach that he knew that coach, looking back on it, that coach knew they were going to lose these games. They had a horrible team, but he taught them how to lose. And so often in our lives, people do not know how to lose. And it's not that you should be complacent or accept a failure, but the reality is, if you don't know how to fall down, how do you know how to get back up?
That's right.
And that's what he was talking about. I think sports does that for people.
Yeah.
I tie all these things in. I do feel like there's a lot of positivity and energy that you and I carry the same like-minded approach to things. From day one, when I started putting out camps chats on the farm, I got to admit, I'm saying this right now, you were one of my top supporters. You were right out the box,
love what you're doing,
throwing back at me, giving me that encouragement I needed, because when you're trying to do something and you hope you're doing it right, you want to know that. It's hard to know sometimes. You were definitely one of those folks. And your approach to things and how you handle problems and ultimately your positive mindset is infectious. And so I say those things to ask you this as mayor of Walls, and who knows how long these stretches go. I asked Mayor Musselwhite this. I said, so how long do you think you'll be mayor? 20, 25 years? Of course, he's like, he has to approach every day like he's going to be there forever, because you can't go into something thinking, well, this is just going to be for the next 2 years and then I'm out of here. You can't do it that way.
Yeah.
So let's just say Mayor Henderson, 25 years later, can you encapsulate what you would like to see your legacy become? That's a tough one, I know.
Yeah,
it's a big one. It's a big one. You didn't know about that question.
I didn't know about
it. But it's on my paper, so I didn't just make it up.
You knew about that
I knew about the question.
Yeah, well, look, 25 years, like you said, that's a chunk of change, right?
Sure.
But if we're talking specifically about my legacy as mayor of the precious town of Walls, Mississippi, I would like that legacy to be a legacy of inspiration. A legacy of success, and not success the way that we might view success with having things, but just having the town blossom and become what it can be, right? To have the parks, some of the best parks, not in DeSoto County, but in the state or even in the country, where people would drive for miles to come and cycle in the town of Walls because of, what we've been able to do with our cycling trails, right? To be a place where people would sought after to live out their golden years.
You talked about senior living.
Absolutely.
Something else you guys are working on.
It's because it's just a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. But you know what? Not only that, we have, 4 schools in Walls. We have 2 elementary schools, a middle school, and a high school.
Lake Cormorant?
Lake Cormorant.
Yeah.
And if you're someone that, are looking to start a family, I'd want Walls to be a sought-after place to even start a family.
Yeah.
Because we are remote, but we're remote with access. And so I would want to have that be known. Because right now, we're the best kept secret in America.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be after this. I hate to tell you this, Mayor Henderson, but this is in all 50 states now and 19 different countries. So the cat's out of the bag, as I'm saying.
Amazing. What a blessing. What a blessing. Hey, well, look, come to Walls.
Come to Walls, right?
We're ready. We're ready.
Well, look, I've got news for you. I lived there, and I got to say that I enjoyed my days growing up. Carolina Trails is very special to me, as you had mentioned earlier on the show. I think that your biking plays into now your mayoral approach even, and we didn't even realize that until I just tied that together for you. But I think that there's nothing but big things, bright things on the future for Walls, and I love the fact that you're in there, a guy that I know personally, and I know where your heart is. And if for anybody out there that did not know you, the mayor, I want people to know that this is you. This is genuine. This is the real deal, Holyfield. When we came into this, you were not prepped on all the questions. I told you I'd lay a foundation, and then we would discuss some of the other topics that go along with being a mayor. But in the end, this is you authentic. Real deal. So
the only way to be.
I agree. So as we move towards the finish line here, I know there's a few things we wanted to talk about. So you got the Mayor's Ball, January 13th.
January 13th at the luckiest place in Tunica.
Fitzgerald's. How about that? It ties back to, I did not know that whenever you said that you had this thing. How about that?
Yeah.
And so then the relationship is still there.
Well,
You still work there.
I still work there.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I still work there.
You mentioned that at the beginning. So what do you do?
So again, Walls is a very small town, and the salary that I earn, I can't support my family on that.
Okay.
I'm not doing it for the money though.
Sure.
I have a full-time job. I'm the director of hotel operations. And it's funny because people will oftentimes ask me, well, what's it like, being a mayor of Walls? And you just mentioned, that, we're just south of 1,500 residents. Well, a 500-room hotel, when it's full, there's over 1,000 people in that hotel.
You're running an entire city in a hotel.
It's a little city, so it's like I've been the mayor.
Yeah, you've been the mayor, so to speak, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And just to give a shout out to Tony Scudero, who's the vice president and general manager and the owners of Foundation Gaming. When I told them that I was seriously considering running for mayor, I wanted them to give me their blessing because it's a time commitment. Let's face it, and they gave me their blessing, and they were stoked about the opportunity that they were going to have a mayor working for them because they claimed it for me.
Sure.
It's like, okay, well, if you want to do this, it's already done. We're going to have a mayor working for us, and you just let us know anything that we can do to assist, with your town once you get in there. And they've done it. Yeah. I mean, we just had our second town festival this year. The first one, it was attended by about 600 people. First time out of the gate. We had 2,000 people at our second town festival. The folks at Foundation Gaming helped us be able to put on that festival, well, those festivals. Wow. We just had a couple of weekends ago a Christmas parade that went over like gangbusters. Wow. Very first Christmas parade under my administration.
Is that in Walls?
It was in Walls on Old 61.
How about that?
Yeah. On our newly paved highway there.
Come on,
we
man.
got the first new overlay in 20 years.
What?
On Old 61.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's where we had our parade. It was beautiful. People came out and they really supported it. I'm getting chills again, just reliving that particular moment.
That's outstanding.
But yeah, I mean, those guys that I work for, they're a special group of.
You said you didn't burn bridges.
No.
It sounds like they've been building some for you.
Yeah. Well. Full disclosure, it's new ownership from back in the early days of the '90s when I was there, but I didn't burn those bridges.
Yeah, but if you would have, see, that's the thing.
Yeah,
you wouldn't. You would not
that's
be
right.
there with this now. And
you just
I
never
think
know.
all of that is so important to tie into.
It truly is.
One thing I left out too was I grew up going to First Baptist Church of Walls off of Old 61.
Ah.
It is not a church anymore. They had sold it some years ago, but it reminded me of Little House on the Prairie.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a little bitty old small room.
Yeah.
We had like an attendance of like 25.
Oh, wow.
It was very small.
You still have some of those churches in Walls, some of those small churches. We really do.
I mean, like when I say I grew up, it's my roots. I mean, like it's full on thick. My roots of Walls, Mississippi. That's who I am.
Amen.
Whenever people ask me where you're from, I used to say Memphis because whenever I was young and go places, people had no idea who Walls was. I spent 25 minutes trying to explain to them.
Yeah.
Now, whenever people ask me, it's like, where you from? I'm like, Walls, Mississippi. Live in Hernando. Yeah. I'm from Walls, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Yep. So if Coach Camp ever makes it onto a Wikipedia page, I hope that they put my hometown was Walls.
There it is. The doorway to the Delta.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, sir, what would you want to leave my listeners with moving forward into 2024? Anything you want to say that I have not hit on, ask about, or just a final message?
You know what? I would just tell people to be a blessing to themselves and be a blessing to other people. And a lot of times being a blessing to yourself, the best way to do that is to be a blessing to somebody else. Keep the main thing, and the main thing, especially this time of year. I mean, Christmas is 2 weeks away?
It is, even though this is being aired the 2nd week of January.
Yeah,
but yes, you are correct, sir.
Yeah. What's Christmas all about? Mm-hmm. It's about the ultimate gift.
True.
Right? So be a blessing to somebody. And whether it's in your corporate life, whether it's being a mayor, whether it's serving, at a hospital, at a nursing home, at a youth camp, whether it's in the grocery store, somebody knocks a bag of potato chips off the don't just walk over it, pick it up. Be a blessing to somebody. So let your existence be pleasing to whatever God you serve.
That's right.
And that's what will make our world a better place if we're always looking for an opportunity to serve.
Amen.
Yeah.
Keidron could not have said it better myself. Mayor Henderson of Walls, Mississippi. Sir, I really appreciate you. And I don't want you to know this. I'm saying this on the air, so it makes it official. It's almost like if it was on the internet, it has to be real. If I can ever do anything for you, if Coach Camp can ever come down, do anything for you in Walls, Fitzgerald's for that matter, you let me know, sir. My services are your service anytime you need me. I appreciate you coming out, spending some time with me this afternoon.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to come and share.
Love you, brother.
Love you back.
Wish you all the best in the world.
Yes, sir.
Hey, listeners, thank y'all for tuning in. I'm hoping 2024 is going to be as big as I'm dreaming. I'm thinking of nothing but the stars at this point. So let's get on this rocket ship and take off, baby. Let's hit some high notes going down the road. I appreciate y'all's support. Go to my YouTube. We've got a lot of exciting videos coming out now. You can go to motivatewithcoachcamp.com and then hit on all my socials. Check out the YouTube. And as always, please continue to tune in each and every week. So until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mine.